Behind me is the new Volvo XC90 T8, the plug-in hybrid version of the XC90 SUV. But yes, while it's a hybrid, this one's a hybrid with a bit of a difference. You see, while lots of car manufacturers will call their hybrid cars things like electro car and eco wagon, this one's called the Twin Engine. Why? Well, the fact it's one of the most powerful 7-seaters in the world and faster off the mark than a Ferrari 348 might have something to do with it anyway. But it's not just about the power. You see, Volvo also says that this car can return up to 134.5 miles per gallon. 134.5 miles per gallon. Fast, expensive, luxurious, beautifully crafted and spacious. Watch out, Range Rover. Apart from some subtle badging and an extra filler flap on the front, the T8 looks virtually identical to the regular XC90, and it's the same story inside with the same striking cabin. Fit and finish are outstanding, it's resting in its own understated way, and it overall projects a sense of space and calm. All very Scandinavian, of course. Complaints? Well, this crystal gear lever is a bit footballers' wives, and some of the options on other cars like swathes of beige leather might be a bit too much for some, but all in all this is probably one of the best interiors on sale anywhere. The serene cabin also masks the fact that the T8 is something of a technological marvel. Compared against the last model, the dashboard has been almost completely decluttered of buttons, with all functions now accessed through this large tablet-style touchscreen infotainment system, which is sharp to look at, easy to use, and even works when you're wearing gloves. Standard equipment is equally impressive, with all XC90s getting DAB digital radio, keyless entry, sat-nav, and LED headlights. There's also adaptive cruise control, Volvo's semi-autonomous pilot assist driving function, along with an 8-inch digital display which replaces the traditional analog dials. Despite the fact that it is a plug-in hybrid, the T8 retains all the impressive practicality of the regular model. The reason for that is that instead of eating into passenger space in which to house the battery packs, Volvo simply made the fuel tank a little bit smaller. Being a Volvo, it's also incredibly safe. Much of this car is constructed of boron steel, the strongest used in the automotive industry, and it scores a full 5 out of 5 in independent Euro NCAP crash safety tests. It's also full of clever kit like autonomous emergency braking, special energy absorbent seats, and seat belts which automatically plant you into position when a crash is impending. Even though it's a 7-seater, it still has a 451-litre boot, which is better than the vast majority of its rivals. Fold down the third row of seats and that expands to 1,102 litres, while stowing all of the seats it spans that again to 1,951 litres. That's a little bit less than cars like the Mercedes GLS, but it's still a lot more than the Audi Q7. So about that whole twin engine thing, well, power for the T8 comes from a 2-litre twin-charged petrol engine, which means that it's got a turbocharger and a supercharger, which powers the front wheels via an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Meanwhile, the rear wheels are driven by a 34 kilowatt electric motor, which acts as a starter, a generator, and which supplies extra juice to the petrol engine where needed. In total, it's good for a combined 400 brake horsepower, which is enough to take the T8 from 0 to 62 in just 5.6 seconds. It's ruddy fast, I'll tell you that, but it's less dragster and more effortless, which is more becoming of the character of the car. Like other XC90s, it's not really set up for a sport and drive and is more comfortable, more soft and more refined. It is a big and heavy car, and it feels like a big and heavy car too. It's nearly 17 feet long and about an inch taller than your average human male, which means that placing it on smaller country roads and tight parking spaces can be a bit tricky. That said, it never feels overly unwieldy when you're on the go, and it is smooth and quiet, even when the petrol engine engages. By using this little scroll wheel down here, you can also select different driving modes. So you can drive in pure electric mode, you can drive in hybrid mode, which combines the electric motor and the petrol engine, or power mode, which sends all the electricity into the petrol engine for maximum, well, power. That said, when you're driving in electric mode only, the claimed 25-mile range will start to dwindle pretty quickly, and so hybrid is probably the best all-round option. By flipping through the touchscreen here though, you can select charge mode, which uses the petrol engine to regenerate the batteries. You can select hold mode, which saves all of the charge for later, or you can also select braking mode, which recharges the batteries using recouped braking energy. Running costs are, of course, a big part of the attraction of the T8, and like we stated earlier, it's officially rated to return 134.5 miles per gallon with a tiny 49 grams per kilometre of CO2. Be warned though that as soon as the petrol engine kicks in, or when you're using power mode, economy will dramatically tumble into the low 20s. To buy it outright, it's priced from $55,455, which takes the government's £5,000 plug-in grant into consideration, and also makes it about 10 grand more expensive than the regular XC90. So, is it worth all that extra dosh? Well, unless you're a hardcore hybrid fanboy, it's a little hard to recommend the T8 as the must-have model. After all, you get all the same luxury and space with one of the diesel versions, plus with decent running costs as well. But still, there is a lot to be said for the T8. Given the tax breaks you'd enjoy and that absolutely beastly acceleration, it still is hugely attractive. Much like the car itself, eh? Click on the Inquire button to find out more details about this car, or for any other models, visit carkeys.co.uk. And to watch more reviews, click on one of the links on screen now.